Hello and welcome to the Piney News for May 2016. And we have a number of rather disturbing things going on in the Pine Barrens, and this is what I'm going to be talking about first and spending the most time on. The devastation in Flanders and Hampton Bays at Hubbard County Park is absolutely mind-blowing. A year, or even maybe a year ago, you went through a forest with nothing but beautiful pitch pines. And this spring when I was there, all those pitch pines were dead. And it's all due to southern pine beetle. You know, southern pine beetle is ravaging our forests because it is a pest that it normally would be killed off, as I've explained to you before. It's normally killed off by cold weather in the winter. But because our winters have lacked the extreme cold that they're supposed to have, and people say, oh, we've had cold in the winter, but the thing is this, it has to be of a long duration. Winters used to stay cold, but now you get these ridiculously warm days in the middle of the winter. And that's how these beetles are able to hang on. And no, they're called southern pine beetles because they came from the south. And from the south is where they're supposed to stay. But they come up north because they're not getting killed off by the cold. So in this video, you're going to see a large swath, I would say of at least 20 to 30 acres, and it's probably even more than that. It's probably more like 50 acres of entirely dead pitch pines. And it does not seem that there is any management going on from Suffolk County or the State Department of Environmental Conservation. You know, it's come out that the DEC doesn't really want to pay for the removal of the southern pine beetle trees, and that's where they're trying to get loggers into the forest to try to remove these trees, and that way they could take the trees with them and, you know, sell them, I guess, for whatever. I'm not necessarily opposed to that idea. That is done in New Jersey, but still, nothing is moving fast enough. These beetles are moving faster. They're moving too fast, and we've got to pick up the pace in stopping them. So now, in this clip, you will see the absolute devastation that has happened at what was once a beautiful section of Hubbard County Park.
We are looking at an overview of Hubbard County Park in Hampton Bays. And you can see here in this image, which is not current, this is probably from a year or two ago, that this was a very nice piney area at the tip of a little, it's like a little point that sticks out over here. Now if we zoom in, you can see it was a nice piney area, but there were problems with southern pine beetles starting. We can see here an infested stand of trees here. At the time, all these trees were okay. Most of these trees were okay. And there are a few infestations here and here. And a few here. But now this is all gone. There is nothing but dead trees here because the infestation was never dealt with. And now let's take a look what it looks like now. And so now this is what it looks like as of mid-April 2016. I would say 80 to 90% of the pitch pines in this spot are dead or are dying, infested with southern pine beetles. You can see the telltale signs, the reddening needles, all that stuff as I walk up this nice trail, which I used to call this little area Pine Island, but it's going to be Dead Pine Island soon with all the dying pines here. This is sad because this didn't have to happen. When the infestation was small, if the county or the state came in and removed infested trees, it probably wouldn't have spread, but now it is spreading throughout the whole stand of pines, and now I worry there are many old historic pines in this particular part of Long Island that we could lose if this infestation is not dealt with immediately. Suffolk County and the New York State DEC claim that they don't have enough money to properly handle this. They need to find the money because we're losing a precious, priceless resource. And all options need to be looked at when it comes to, now here's a good example. Here's a healthy pine to the left, but it's going to start spreading. You can see the red needles. These are all freshly infested trees. And there's an awful, like, rotting pine smell in the air in this area. It's not a very nice smell at all. It's like a rotting pine smell. So here I am walking over to a right now some healthy pitch pines for now. But these pines are surrounded by dead pines infested with southern pine beetle. And the southern pine beetle jumps from tree to tree. It's like a disease. It's like someone coughing and spreading germs. It's the same thing. These dead trees are spreading disease to the healthy trees around them. And I just could not believe the damage I was seeing here. This area was so full of pines just a year or two ago, and now look at it. And you can see here the reddening of the pines. You can see they're all turning red. That's the sign of southern pine beetle, and it's being spread from tree to tree because the county is not doing anything. The state is not doing anything. It is spreading uncontrollable, almost like a wildfire. And it's just a shame to see all these pines just dying. And this is due to climate change, and it's also due to inaction by Suffolk County Park. So I'm walking along this path that goes up to, there's a little beach there. And it gets even worse as I head up the path. Because when you get to the end, it used to be all healthy pines. This used to be all healthy pines just a year or two ago. And what you're going to see is nothing but dead pines. Nothing but rows and rows of just dead trees. And here we are, just devastating. Devastating. And let me tell you, the stench of rotting pine tar was so thick in the air. It was sickening. And this is some of the worst infestation I've ever seen. This is just horrible. And it's sickening. And this all could have been prevented had New York State and Suffolk County, when the Beetles, we knew the Beetles were here a couple of years ago, if they took action. This is what happens when they say we don't have the money. We lose an entire forest of pines. They should have even harvested these trees, harvested the infested trees, but now look at what we got. We found a bunch of dead pine trees. This all used to be, these are hundreds and hundreds of dead pitch pine trees. This didn't have to happen. And as the county and state continue to squabble over money, we are losing our Pine Barrens acre by acre. Let's get it done. Let's go in here, let's treat this, because all this could have been prevented. It all could have been prevented. And what we have now is just devastation. And it's just a shame. And if you go to Hubbard and you take this path, you're just going to feel like crying. It's so sad.
So as you can see, absolute devastation. And I just am, it really makes you want to cry when you see them, and the fact is this all could have been prevented had the county and the State Department of Environmental Conservation been more aggressive. New Jersey is even warmer than Long Island, yet New Jersey it seems like they have most of their southern pine beetle outbreaks under control. That's because of good management by the state of New Jersey. But in New York, Pine Barrens, they're an afterthought. Nobody seems to really care about them. Nobody wants to put the money forth to protecting them. And, they are our most valued resource here on Long Island. A resource that does not get attention. You watch those I Love New York ads, you can see that they don't really talk much about the Pine Barrens at all. They're always talking about upstate, or when they talk about Long Island, it's just nothing but beaches. What about this beautiful forest we have that encompasses still much of Suffolk County? Why isn't that talked about? Maybe if people realized there was a beautiful forest there, they'd realize how important it is to save it. So that is what's going on with that. And Bellone, Steve Bellone, the Suffolk County executive, wants a clean water referendum to pay for sewers because he's worried about the declining water quality in Suffolk County. Now, I think that we do need more sewers. I think, when you look at New Jersey, a lot of their areas in the Pinelands have sewers, and we don't. And it's detrimental to the water quality. But he's missing the point. All the money the county gets already and they have hardly preserved any open space. The water quality is declining and they will blame the sewers, but a lot of it has to do with nitrate runoff from developments, lawns, landscaping, all that stuff, irrigation, all these McMansions they build, all these commercial centers, all that nitrogen it washes down into the bays, into the rivers, and is the sewer system going to solve that? Let's do more to stop this development, man. Really. When you look at New Jersey's bays, they're a lot cleaner. You go to Ocean County, and I've seen the water at the beaches there, right on the bay, and it's so much cleaner than our water is on the bay. And it's because there's less developments allowed in the critical watershed areas. Whereas Long Island, just these politicians just see dollar signs in their eyes and they see development. We have fish kills going on already. It is starting again in the Peconic and Quogue Bays. Fish kills. They're going on again because of, Riverhead Sound Supervisor says, there's too many bunker. That's why there's a huge fish kill. No, it's because there's too much development, particularly in your town, Mr. Sean Walter. I think there's a direct link to a lot of this has been going on since all this development started on Route 58. Before that was there, the Peconic River was much cleaner. Well, Route 58 is like a mile away from the Peconic River. Where do you think all that runoff is going to go, Mr. Sean Walter? You have all this commercial stuff you put there, and now it's harming the environment. And the damage is permanent. It's done. We can't fix that. This is why it's so hard to stop what happened along Route 58 and why now that we've lost that battle, you can see the results. Dead fish kills, low oxygen levels, high nitrates, all due to that runoff, Mr. Sean Walter. And I actually was contacted by somebody in Stony Brook. You can collect the link. They're putting like a little report together on the Pine Barrens and income and some stuff going on with development. And it's a really good report. I'm helping them out a little bit, and you can check it out. The link is below. I think I'm glad to see some people getting involved in this because we stand to lose our most precious resource if this kind of development continues. If we take a look at New Jersey, more land preservation. So there's always more land preservation going on in Ocean County. Ocean County has just been the recipient of $1.6 million in federal funds through a reimbursement program. Basically, this is due to preserve the land around the Joint Base McGuire, Dix, Lakehurst, a 5-mile buffer around it, and they're preserving it. So they're actually in the Pine Barrens, and they're preserving a lot of that land as a buffer, to protect people from the noise and the things that go on there, but also to protect the environment. And I think that's really, really important. Ocean County has gone above and beyond. I tell you, Ocean County has done an excellent job. People will say there's some flaws there. Of course, there's flaws everywhere, but Ocean County has really done their job. You go to Ocean County and Toms River, the character of that area has been preserved so much better than the character of Long Island. And it's still a nice, peaceful place. It hasn't become citified. It hasn't become full of problems. For the most part, it's safe, and most of all, it's clean. The environment is so much cleaner there. And when we talk about Long Island, we talk about Long Island's littered roads. There was recently a story about the fact that if you look around Long Island, there's another thing on Long Island, you look around all our roads, there's just trash all over the place. People dump trash out the window. There's supposed to be fines for littering, but nothing's ever done about it. And our roads are littered in at a cost to taxpayers. People, State Department of Transportation workers, have to go out and clean up this litter. I don't understand why they can't get jail inmates to clean it up. I don't understand. I think Suffolk County used to do that. I don't understand why that's not being done. But, littered roads. I don't see that kind of litter along the road when I'm in New Jersey. It's not perfect, but it's certainly cleaner. That's for sure. And then we have this. I'm all for solar panels, solar power. But here we have a proposal that National Grid or LIPA or whoever, I think it was National Grid property in Shoreham. It's some Pine Barrens. It's mostly a hardwood forest. They want to build a solar panel farm there, and they want to knock down up to 300 acres of trees to build it. This is a very wooded area, very pretty place, and they want to put all these solar panels there. I mean, I'm all for solar panel, but why do we have to knock down woods to put solar panels up? We could put solar panels up above parking lots. I know Suffolk County's been doing that. We could put them up, above buildings. There's so many buildings already. Why do we need to knock down trees? It's totally counterproductive. It really is totally counterproductive. 300 acres, that's even worse than the proposal I heard for the Six Flags. That is disgusting. Frankly disgusting. A terrible idea. Totally pointless. This is a beautiful area. And here we go again with the environmental side. Oh, thank God we stopped that big bad Shoreham plant. I know that Mr. Amper and the Pine Barrens Society were against the nuclear power plant opening. But had the nuclear power plant actually opened, that whole area would remain forever wild as a buffer zone. All right? But we've done so much more damage to the environment with all the development and all this destruction going on than had Shoreham opened. And the real enemy that the Pine Barrens Society seems to have missed was all the development. The residential, commercial development, knockdowning of the pine. The Shoreham would not have done anything bad. All right? I'm somebody who just does not see why environmentalists dislike nuclear power so much. I mean, it produces very little waste compared to the other types of power. And also, there is no greenhouse gas emissions from it at all. All right? The nuclear waste is a small problem. It is a problem, but compared to the fossil fuels, natural gas, oil, it's much cleaner. And I don't understand the hate for it. Speaking of fossil fuels, a pipeline for natural gas for the Caithness II has been rejected. And this pretty much will hopefully sink the Caithness II power plant, which we don't need. PSCG Long Island said we don't need it. There would have been another big fossil fuel plant right in the middle of the Pine Barrens in Yaphank. And there's already so much devastation, destruction going on there in that area. It's becoming an industrial wasteland. It used to be so pretty over there. And now it's becoming an industrial wasteland. And it's, again, more land lost, forever gone. And then Bellone has a plan for transit in Suffolk. Some things like Bellone I like. I like Bellone. He wants to. Some things I agree with him on. Yeah, we need to do more about public transportation in Suffolk. He wants to have some, like maybe bus rapid transit routes, north-south corridors, like on Nichols, transportation to Brookhaven Labs, which I think is an excellent idea. Still though, the county has to actually invest in that kind of money. I don't see the county, they reduced, I think they cut some of the budget for Suffolk County Transit. So if you want to actually improve transit, you do have to spend more on it, Mr. Bellone. I understand that. So we do get to the public transportation section here. And of course, I want to first start off with the nice bus service changes. As you know, in my other video, I talked about the N22 late night N22 riders being stranded by their routes, their buses now ending at Roosevelt Field. And I was actually in front of the Nassau County Legislature last week and made a speech about it. I'm here to come before you today because I am frustrated but not surprised about what our bus system has become. As an almost daily rider of Nice Bus, which really is anything but, I can tell you the quality of service provided falls far short of what MTA Long Island Bus provided prior to 2012. And I am here to tell you that despite the additional revenues for Nice and routes being restored this summer, Nice is still cutting service. I live in Westbury, a town where many rely on public transportation, and Nice is to get around. The Long Island Railroad does not serve us well. Despite good ridership numbers, too many trains skip our station. So the N22 bus route is a lifeline for many in our community.
I was flabbergasted when I looked at nice bus schedules and that started April 24th to see that several eastbound buses in the evening on the N22 now end at Roosevelt Field instead of continuing to Hicksville through Westbury. This includes the last eastbound bus on weekdays and Sundays. The N22 is busy and often very crowded at all hours, and this change seriously baffles me. And I just want to say that NICE wrote me back after comment claimed that only 2 people were on the bus at that time. I can tell you that is not true, because I've been on the bus at that time, and there's way more than that. In particular, the Newcastle section of Westbury depends on this route heavily. It's as if NICE wants to drive these riders to taxis, many of which still thank Ed Mangano on their roofs. Prior to 2012, Westbury, along with many other Nassau communities, had much more frequent bus service on the N22 and N35. The N35 used to run 30 minutes all day. Now, if Nassau had agreed to work with the MTA back in 2011, we would most likely still have this level of service. TRANSDEV is a for-profit company. They could care less about their riders, employees, or the buses. Their maintenance falls far short of what MTA provided. Many break down every day, leaving riders waiting for the next bus, sometimes up to an hour. And buses only a few years old look worse than their older counterparts in the city. It is really time you do right by the people of this county and bus riders and get back to the table with the MTA to restore the Long Island bus service we had prior to 2012. I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah, I made a speech. This is stuff we already know, and they don't really care, but I figured, you know what, at least let me try. You know, at least they know what's going on. You know, they still keep cutting service, even though the bus TRANSDEV is getting more money. Now, TRANSDEV wrote me back and said those trips carry 2 people or less. I find it hard to believe that all those trips carry 2 people or less. I really do. One of the trips they ended Roosevelt Field was like an 850 N22 on Sunday. That trip never had 2 people. That trip was like at least half full. So don't tell me that. I saw an Ed Mangano, a taxi with an Ed Mangano sign on the roof. You know what's going on. The taxis, they're going to love the extra business. They're going to love it. They're going to love it. That's just another conflict of interest and stuff like that. So restorations, they've put some of the restorations on their service on their website. So we're going to look at that.
Now we're going to go over some of the service restoration details that NICE recently put up on their website. Now for this summer, June 26, 2016, the N80 and 81 will pretty much resume the same schedule they had, prior to their elimination. Buses run every 30 minutes on a combined route, which I think is too much. They should have had them run on an hourly headway combined. So every one, let's say the N80 would leave Hicksville at 1 o'clock to Sunrise Mall, and then the next one would be the next hour at 2 o'clock, the 81 would be, but that's not the way they want to do it. They want to bring it back fully. Something about that Mass Peakway area. They get what they want, and a lot of people complained about it. A lot of, wealthy people in that area. Some of those pretty wealthy, again, a lot of Wall Street financial stuff down there. I don't know. I don't see, I'm glad they're being restored, but that is just, I think, a little too much. So the Rockville Community Shuttle. This is going to be a community shuttle. It's going to run and serviced by a new 30-foot vehicle. So it's going to be a smaller bus, and it's going to run a loop formation. The shuttle will run peak weekday service every 20 minutes from 6 to 9 a.m. and 3:30 to 7 p.m. Now, I do not understand why this route is coming back. This route should not be coming back. There's no one who took it. No one. Now, there were more people that took the N46, for goodness sake, and they're not bringing that back. So, again, what kind of interests are going on in Rockville Center? You have to ask yourself this to bring this back. That's a very good question. They're showing you some of the sample schedule down here. So if you look down here, you see the sample schedule right here. They even put a sample schedule up for them. They're trying to get people to use it, to connect up with the train, which is a good idea. The problem is these rich people, they don't want to use it. They want to drive their Mercedes, and the same thing is probably going to happen again unless they somehow better publicize this. I mean, it's a good idea, but the problem is the ridership tanked on the route as Rockville Center became full of rich people. Rich people don't believe in taking the bus, especially the kind of rich people that are moving there. And then we have the Mercy Hospital Community Shuttle, which is being brought back too. and it's going to be serviced by a smaller vehicle, 30-foot vehicle, and we'll run a loop formation. So it's going to be like a loop. I guess it's going to go back and forth between Rockville Center and Hempstead every 40 minutes. So they're actually having more service now than they did before. I guess they're trying to maybe this will help the ridership on the route. I think it's important for the employees to have some transportation. It's important that a hospital be served by bus. However, I don't see why that we couldn't just divert certain N16 trips or maybe even some N15 trips to serve Mercy Hospital. Again, I don't understand your thinking sometimes, you know. And then in September 4th, the Elmont, that's probably more important because that serves a poorer neighborhood, but there's no details on that. Gee, I wonder why. Watto Hicksville Community Shuttle, that's going to be peak weekday service. The Freeport Community Shuttle, I'm guessing these community shuttles will be smaller buses as well, and as well as the Elmont Flexi. N51 I think will be a regular bus, and they'll bring back peak weekday service. So I probably run a similar schedule the way the 45 is now. And then here at the bottom it'll say the following will not be restored due to low ridership: the 46 and the 50 and the N74 also. So I agree with the 74, and I agree with the 46. I still think the 50. I think the 50 should have been brought back before the N14, but you know, it's all about those connections, those political connections. And the N19 obviously is now run by Suffolk County Transit, so you know, I can see the point in that. So that is pretty much it for the nice changes. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I think restoring the N14 and the N17 is a huge mistake. Huge mistake. There's obviously some special interests in Rockville Center that obviously are getting their way. Special interests. Well, we all know Rockville Center's a little on the wealthy side. So unfortunately, we're starting to see this with NICE too. You know, they're getting their routes back. Meanwhile, Newcastle, Westbury are seeing less runs at night. Something not right here, you know. But it's just typical on Long Island to have this type of thing going on. The corruption and everything is just disgusting. The Long Island Ridership Report was released 2015 Ridership Report, which we're going to take a look at now. And we're going to take a look at some of the changes in the ridership. And, you know, it doesn't look that different from the last one, but we're going to make a few comparisons.
Okay, so we're going to look at briefly the ridership report. I'm going to go more into this, I think, later this month. But ridership has gone up on all the branches substantially. This is 2015 daily branch travel east of Jamaica. You hear that? Another rice rocket. Rice rocket, by the way. Well, you know, whatever. Anyway, so this is 2012. 2012 branch travel east of Jamaica. And you can see here that, again, there's been increases on all the branches. Babylon line's increased by, let's see, 64,000. It's gone up from 64,000 to 67,580. The Ronkonkoma has gone up from 46160 to 48700. The Port Washington has gone up from 42230 to 44600. And the Huntington line's gone up 39090 to 40,910. So there's been gains on almost every single branch here. Some of the smaller ones have stayed the same. We're going to scroll down now. This is going to be westbound customers east of Jamaica. This is 2015. Now we're going to look at 2012. All right, so just to show you the difference here. There's been increases again on all these branches. Babylon's actually had a pretty big increase. So is Huntington. So as they all have. So I have to crunch all this data to show you this. Generally been increases on all the lines. All the lines have increased. Eastbound customers east of, wasn't that eastbound? Westbound. Oh, okay, so that's westbound, and now we're going to do eastbound. Alright, so this is eastbound. This is 2015, and I'm going to compare that with 2012. Eastbound, yeah, everything's gone up pretty much. Every single branch has gone up to some degree. Yeah, every single branch has gone up to some degree. So now we're going to look at the AM peak. All right. 2015 East customers east of Jamaica. This is 2015. And let's go here. Hold on. There's been some. They've all gone up. They've all gone up small amounts, not huge amounts. The biggest increases have not been in rush hours. But this is where it gets interesting. Average customers per tray in 2015. You may see the Babylon has the most, but they have, of all the 4 major branches in 2015, they have the least amount of people per train. The Ronkonkoma is the most crowded on average, followed by the Huntington, followed by the Port Washington, then Babylon. So I want to compare that to 2012. Alright, see how the number of customers per train has gone. Right. In 2012, it was 725 customers per train on the Babylon. That's gone up to 763, so their trains have gotten more crowded. In 2012, the Ronkonkoma branch had 927 customers per train in the AM peak, and now it's 978, so it's gone up. The Huntington branch in 2012 had 842 customers per train in the AM peak, and that's now up to 886. The Port Washington branch has also gone up, so they've all gone up. Like I said, the ridership's gone up. Even in rush hour, it's gone up. Again, this is total customers east of Jamaica. I don't want to make this. I'm making this too long as it is. PM east of Jamaica. Again, that's 2015. This is 2012, 2015. You can see the difference there. Again, it's all gone up pretty much. But again, PM peak average customers per train. Once again, reflecting that the Ronkonkoma is the most crowded, followed by the Huntington, followed by the Port Washington, and then the Babylon branch. Babylon branch, this backs up what I've been saying, is that the Babylon branch trains aren't that crowded. They have a little too much service compared to the rest of us. But that's where I've explained to you why that is. Now let's compare it with 2012. So this is 2012, 2015. Let's see. Yep. In the PM peak, the Babylon branch has actually had a decrease. In 2012, they had 751 customers per train average PM peak, and that's gone down to 734. And the Huntington train had 841 customers PM peak, and that's gone up to 871. The Huntington trains are noticeably more crowded. Ronkonkoma trains more or less have stayed the same, maybe a slight decrease of a few people. But again, this just goes to prove that the Babylon branch gets too much service, and they have it too good, and that's why whenever there is a problem and trains have to be combined, they should always the Babylon branch should always get the majority of those because they get the most service. I'm not saying the trains are empty, but they certainly are less crowded than the majority of Long Island Railroad's riders deal with. That is all I'm going to go into in this clip right here. I'm going to have a much more detailed report on this sometime this month.
Yeah, so as you can see, it's typical that, the Babylon branch is quite a busy branch, but they still have the least amount of crowding. And I still think is rather unfair, especially, as I've talked about before with the service here in Westbury. It's ridiculous. All right, I just don't see why these wealthier areas get more service when there's just so many people who need the train in not so wealthy areas. But this is what Long Island is about. We have an unaffordable Long Island. We have a town of Hempstead. You're going to scratch your head when you hear this, and I know this is a little off topic, but we have a town of Hempstead that, under Mr. Santino, has decided to go after an old man with a plane in his driveway. I'm not kidding, man. The guy parked a plane in his driveway. The town took his plane away. They're like, you can't have a plane in your driveway. Some of the neighbors are complaining it's not safe. You have the plane tied down. It was just a little Cessna plane. The town of Hempstead is huge, and they choose to single out a senior citizen with a plane that he showed off in his driveway. He parked in his driveway. It was neat. The plane was clean. It was nothing bad going on. They single out him, yet this happened in Oceanside. Meanwhile, in places like Roosevelt and Uniondale, there are junk cars parked on lawns, 20, 30 people living to a home. And many of them may be here illegally. And nothing is done about that. Nothing's done about that, but they pick on an old man. It's easier to pick on a law-abiding citizen than it is to pick on some real problems. And this man basically said he was going to defend his property if he was there able. They took it away while he was away. So very sneaky. They took his plane away. It's his property. He went onto his property and took his property away. In the United States of America, this is going on. It's just another example of corrupt Long Island government. And it's just, I think it's disgusting. Come on. Really, we have cars on the road. I'd love to have lots of people with planes in their driveway in my town. Instead, we've got to listen to this. We've got to listen to these rice rockets driving up and down the streets all the time. This is what we got to listen to, but it's all about the rich. It's all about the town of Hempstead. We already know is trying to really gear to the rich. The people in Merrick. Now you have to be a town resident to park in these lots. If you're in the city of Long Beach, you're out of luck. But they got their fancy cars and they think that they're better than everybody. And there's widespread discrimination going on Long Island. And if you try to speak up about it, and I tried to uncover recently some things going on in real estate that are going on in the South Shore, boy, you just get beat up online. These people on the South Shore are ruthless. They are ruthless, bigots, narrow-minded, just unbelievable kind of people they are. I'm going to call them out because I don't think it's right what they're doing. You can't just come in and then deny other people. All right, I don't care how fancy you are. I don't care that you feel like it's cool to wear shorts on a 45-degree day with sandals. I don't care about that. What I care about is that you are denying others their basic civil rights. That's what I care about. All right, and so this man, this old man here, I wish him the best of luck. I think he needs to really fight hard against the town for what he did. I know he's going to file a lawsuit. I know it's a little off topic, but it's just a disgusting kind of behavior going on Long Island on the behalf of our politicians. Leaf blowers is the last subject I want to talk about here in this extremely long Piney news. So, leaf blowers, they are terrible for the environment. They pollute so much more than even the worst gas-guzzling car. And landscapers come and they blow clouds of dirt into the air. Now that spring is here, you see it, blowing clouds of dirt for us all to breathe into the air. And, it's terrible. This is another thing. The leaf blowers need to be outlawed because they're terrible. Not only do they give so much more pollution and emissions out, but like I said, you don't know what kind of diseases and garbage is in that dirt they're blowing around. They blow it out into the road or onto your lawn or whatever. And the terrible thing about landscapers is this. All right, many of them, they're here illegally too. And when people hire landscapers, particularly, like I said, a lot of these people living on the South Shore, they don't teach their kids to mow the lawn. They have a bunch of landscapers do it for them. It's one thing if you're, you're not a homeowner, but if you are a homeowner, you own your own home, you have a family with kids, or you're able to, do the lawn, and you hire these other people to do it. And I have no problem with other people coming and mowing the lawn, but that those leaf blowers, they're obnoxious to listen to. They are noise pollution. They are air pollution. They are terrible for our island. And I honestly think that something needs to be done about, banning them. There's no meaning in what they do. Why are they just blowing dirt around? Yes, lawns need to be mowed. I understand that. But why are you just blowing dirt into the street? I don't understand that, man. It's terrible. You know, and the noise, they have quieter electric leaf blowers. You got to use those old two-stroke gas ones. So they are terrible for the environment. So the island that I love, unfortunately, is under a great deal of problems. And, you know, I call this place my home, and I come here and I try to speak up about what I see that's wrong. And it is, trust me, it is difficult for me to do this, to keep doing this emotionally. All right, but I'm going to keep trying to do this despite the fact that some people will try to keep me quiet. It is my right as a United States citizen and our right under the United States Constitution to speak up when we see things that are wrong. And it is not right that a certain group of people that happens to have more money can flout the law, can corrupt the politicians, and continue to keep people that are down on their luck down. And I'm going to keep fighting for that. And I'm going to try to keep coming here and doing this. But it is difficult for me emotionally. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching. And take it easy. We're going to have a pretty gloomy week weather-wise. It's going to be very cool with a lot of rain. But we do need the rain. It's been way too dry. There has been some brush fires last week. And in fact, a huge one actually in the Poconos, which you could actually see the smoke from that from this area. It was pretty crazy. That was huge. But anyway, thank you for watching. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.